At some points I will pause and have a relevant quote read. First question that I'd like to ask is, what is your definition of American exceptionalism? History is filled with stories of once great civilizations that are no longer with us. These societies were all of one design, a pyramid, top down. Our founders sought to build a different kind of country, one where we the people are the highest ranking sovereign in our system of government. Second question, who has both the authority and the responsibility to decide if an act of government is constitutional? Most Americans assume it is the U.S. Supreme Court, but nowhere in our Constitution is such authority granted to the Supreme Court. In fact, if it was, no state would have ratified our Constitution because they would not have agreed to allow an element of the general government they were creating to arbitrate disputes between the state or the central government. To support the vision of the future, they gave us a wonderful gift, the common law, from which our founding documents, including the Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, Florida's Constitution, come. Tonight we'll be referring to common law. What is the definition of our problem? Our judicial system is badly broken, subverted, works against the rights of the people, and because of separation of powers, the two other branches believe they are prohibited from fixing it. Therefore, it is up to we the people. As I've traveled around Florida, the abuse and pain being suffered by the people who just want their government to obey our Constitution and leave them alone is heartbreaking. These violations of our Constitution destroy the foundation of American exceptionalism. These abuses exist because the grand jury has been subverted by the legislature. I want to make clear the difference between law and statutes. Hagan, would you please read the quotes?
My name is Hagan Smith. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Marbury versus Madison. Where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. Miranda versus Arizona. An unconstitutional statute is not law. It confers no rights. It imposes no duties, affords no protection. It creates no office. It is in legal contemplation as inoperative as if it had never been passed. Norton versus Shelby County. The general rule is that an unconstitutional statute, though having the form and name of law, is in reality no law but wholly void, and is ineffective for any purpose, since unconstitutionality dates from the time of its enactment and not merely from the date of the decision so branding it. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no courts are bound to enforce it. 16 Amjur 2D 256. Thank you.
The history of the People's Grand Jury proves that as designed, the independent grand jury worked well for over 150 years, keeping our government centered under a constitution. The fact that Florida statutes attempt to put some controls over the grand jury and its operations, those statutes are null and void from their creation because, according to U.S. versus Williams Supreme Court decision, no branch of government can write the rules for the grand jury. Remember Article 1, Section 1 of the Florida Constitution, quote, all political power is inherent in the people. We understand local government does not have the power over other governments. However, the people do. The People's Grand Jury can say no to anything. Please recall Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia enumerated on pages 47 through 50 of the U.S. versus Williams case, which we distributed to you folks. The people have the power to correct things that have gone wrong in their communities. Where the rights of the people are concerned, the grand jury is the check against oppressive government. So that brings us to Terry Trussell's story. Terry did not go looking for trouble. He was asked by Dixie County to serve as the grand juror, and in fact, the foreman of the Dixie County statutory grand jury. Terry is the type of person who takes his responsibilities very seriously, so he studied both the Florida Grand Jury Handbook and the grand jury statutes. He ran into serious corruption in two ways. People brought to his attention a complaint that Common Core curriculum was being deployed as a result of bribes from the federal government, causing school committees to change to a new unconstitutional and unlawful curriculum, whose main mission is to destroy American exceptionalism in every way possible. And secondly, the unlawful behavior of State Attorney Jeffrey Sigmeister. He reported both of these issues to Presiding Judge McKittrick in a 7-page letter that put them into the public record and waited and watched for the judicial system to kick into gear and address both issues. Nothing happened.
We're gonna have to cut you off right now. We've been on there 7 minutes already. What, just a question here now, what do y'all expect out of us?
What, in history and in Florida statutes, it is the Board of County Commissioners that controls the access to the courtroom, jury room. And we need permission from you folks to just have the People's Grand Jury gain access to the grand jury room. From that, the history is very clear in this country. In fact, during the industrialization stages, every single
All I'm asking, I don't need the history part. What do y'all want out of us?
permission to meet in the courtroom.
That is controlled by the court system. It is not controlled by us.
But as I understand it, according to Florida statutes, you own responsibility for every edifice in the,
We furnish the facility,
right.
but we don't control the courtroom.
Well, according to Florida statutes, in the grand jury case, you control the space, and the statute is very specific. It says if there's not space, you are to create space, and you control the budget. Both are in Florida statutes.
Well, I was just trying to get an idea of what y'all expect out of the county commissioners. Do we have someone else that wants to speak? Go ahead now.
I got a question for you,
Yes.
just because I'm trying to understand the big picture. I understand the Common Core thing he was looking at. But with Sigmaster, what do y'all say he done, that he did was illegal?
If you read the Florida statutes, the grand jury is to be independent of government. He came in and took complete control of it. He even told Terry, look, I'm in charge here, you go sit down over there. And then he tainted the jury by calling the jury before the meeting. He did a lot of out-of-bounds things according to Florida statutes. And then when Terry said, for me to do my job as foreman, I need you and the assistant attorney and the court recorder and the bailiff to leave, because these are supposed to be secret proceedings. He wouldn't leave, refused to leave. He says, you don't understand, I'm in charge here.
May I say something? My name is Richard Brayhill.
Well, we got these gentlemen here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
that wants to
I'm
speak.
sorry.
Go ahead, Hagan.
I'll be brief in what else I have to say. I want to read a quote from Marcus Tullius Cicero to set the pace for the founding fathers in this country. He said, a nation can survive its fools and even their ambitions, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gate freely, his sly whispers rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of the government itself. For the traitor appears not a traitor. He speaks in accents familiar to his victims, and he wears their face and their garments. He appeals to the baseness that lies deep in the hearts of all men. He rots the soul of a nation. He works secretly and unknown in the night to undermine the pillars of the city. He infects the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to fear. Florida Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, says Florida is a common law state. The U.S. versus Williams makes it clear what the grand jury is, and it's not part of the three branches of government. It's independent and belongs to the people. They also make it clear that the grand jury operates from within the courthouse by the people without interference or intrusion by any of the three branches of government. The purpose of it is to prevent corruption in government as well as other places, not just government. But it can look into matters just on suspicion that there might be a problem, but not necessarily, just so they want to make sure that there is none. So the grand jury is a necessary check against oppression of the people. I ask you with all my heart, this is a responsibility of yours. We have researched it. Provide that room in the courthouse so the people in Dixie County can set free people who are being retaliated against, as Terry Trussell is being done. And I thank you.
Thanks, sir.